Hello troglodytes, and welcome back to another video. So, in today's episode, we are going to be putting Linux, a real desktop version of Linux, onto this Asus Chromebox. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to hack this thing so we can enable developer mode, enable booting from USB devices, and installing unsigned code, so, you know, a Linux distribution of my choice. And then using Debian Linux on this Chromebox. So one thing of note, right up front, if you're actually planning to do this, be very careful that the firmware, because in order to enable unsigned code and, you know, running Debian or Arch or Fedora or whatever you want to put on one of these, make very sure, just be very aware that flashing the firmware, basically updating the BIOS on this, I guess, could very well brick the machine. Now, it's possible to recover, from what I've heard, it's possible to recover if you brick this thing, but be very careful that if your model is slightly different, or it's a slightly different revision, or something that the powers that be have not accounted for, you could turn this into a $30, $50, $100 paperweight. So, yeah, just be careful about that. And also, it's an irreversible process if you choose to do what I did. So if you ever want to put Chrome OS back on this thing, now you can't. So, just getting that out of the way right now, before people be like, oh yes, I want to do that. There are other ways. You can dual boot this. You can do this in ways that will not nuke Chrome OS, but I decided to nuke Chrome OS, so there's that. There's that. So again, I chose the lowest end model I could find so that if it will work on this, it'll work on anything you get, because most likely you're going to get something newer and significantly more powerful than this. Alright, enough yapping. On to the video! Alright, first things first, let's see if this old Chromebox will even fire up before I do anything with it. Hey, there we go, it works. Alright, so, here's our Chromebox. Let me just take off these feetsies right here. Organize them in my nice little organizer over there. Alright, so it has these little clips. Of course it has clips, and there's nothing there. Alright, it's cool. Alright, so that's skibbity. Alright, so we got the bottom of it off. It just has these little metal clips that hold it on. Not too hard to remove, actually. Alright, and here we can see some of the internals. Our RAM's right here, so that's 2 gigabyte sticks of DDR3L. So at least it's, I can upgrade this RAM if I wanted to. Yeah, so that's our 16 gigabyte, yeah, mSATA. Okay, so that's specifically keyed to be mSATA. So it looks like if we want to take the motherboard out, there's this ribbon cable right here, and that's it. So not a super big deal to get into this. 2 other screws right here and right here that are holding this thing together. So let me just take those out, and in theory I should be able to remove the motherboard. Alright, so here's the motherboard. I just removed the micro SD card slot. You have to be careful with that when you're removing the motherboard, because it can like pop out. So there's a little reset button there too. It's interesting. There we go. Alright. There we go. Alright, we've hacked it. Chrome OS is missing or damaged. No, I have to do that. Fuck. Alright, so it looks like we have to hack this thing and replace the write protection on it, so that's going to be spicy. Alright. A third keyboard has been enabled. A third keyboard. Hacking is complete. Okay, so if you're going to do this, make sure that you have a USB 2 keyboard. Or just keep trying different keyboards until it works, I guess. It's rather fucky that way. So, that's cool. Alright, so I've done some hacking. I've tried to install so there's this script I was supposed to set up. I probably included that clip, like this John Lewis firmware.sh script. But the John Lewis, his website, doesn't exist. It's down. So I can't download that yet. I'm now here, and it says if you're having trouble booting a self-signed kernel, which is what I'd want to do, you may need to enable USB booting. To do so, run the command as root. So let's just do that. So it says enable dev USB boot. Success! Booting any self-signed kernel from SSD, USB, SD card slot is enabled. Alright, so maybe I didn't need your whole firmware thing. Alright, I have a thing of Debian on this USB stick I just plugged in, so let's do that. So Control U. What is the developer screen? Is that when I reboot it? I don't know, we're going to uncharted territories at this point, so let's... Alright, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm just gonna reboot it, I guess. We're here, I'm gonna press Control U, Control U, Control D. Oh, it's booting. The thing is, okay. Now we're here. I don't want to be here. Alright, Mr. Chromebox firmware utility scripts. Okay, I don't know what this is gonna do, but alright. You'll be now presented with a Chrome OS device firmware utility script. For details on how it works, go to the Mr. Chromebox page. Here we are focusing on converting the Chromebox into a regular PC with no comeback. Alright, so select option 2 to install update UEFI full ROM firmware. Alright, important. Flashing the firmware has the potential to brick your device. Alright, well, I accept that risk. Requiring relatively inexpensive hardware and some technical knowledge to recover. Oh, okay, it's not so bad then. Not all boards can be tested prior to release, and even then slight differences in hardware can lead to unforeseen failures. If you don't have the ability to recover from a bad flash, you're taking a risk. I do not give a fuck about Chrome OS. YOLO! Note, after flashing UEFI firmware, you'll need to install UEFI compatible OS. Chrome OS will no longer be bootable. That's fine. Create a backup of your stock firmware. No, fuck the stock firmware. Alright. This is a hardcore YOLO moment. So, hopefully I'm recording this. Alright. So, we have successfully installed Linux on this thing, a real Linux, not that bullshit Chrome OS garbage. That's gone, it's permanently erased. This thing has been permanently modified so that you cannot put that shit back on here. So, this is gonna be a spicy boy. So we have an Intel Celeron 3215U, a dual core chip, Intel HD graphics, and about 4 gigabytes of RAM. So that's pretty spicy. Cool. Alright, GNOME software. Open speedrun. Which is gonna be... it's doing it. It's doing it. It's a little chunky, but it's trying its best, okay? It's just a little guy. Except not that kind of little guy. So it's not a little guy, but it is a little guy. So it's trying. If I go all the way up to 4K, can I play back 4K 60 FPS video? I can buffer it. What happens if I try to play it? Uh-oh, that's not a good sign. Ooh. No. Okay. 4K? 4K does not work. Also not happening. Okay. So their limit for YouTube playback is 1080p at 60, which is fine, because most people would have 1080p displays hooked up to this, so on par with a Raspberry Pi thus far. So this is fine. Given all the stuff I'm doing on this computer at the same time, this is running admirably. It's not running great, but it's running... Well, I mean, it's a web game, so that's nothing too crazy, you know. Flap, little birdie, flap, flap, flap. Alright. Ooh, that's, maybe if I close all this crap. See ya. Oh boy. Okay, is that gonna... Okay, will that make it run any faster? Oh yeah, it's a lot better. Okay, so if you are careful with what you do... Again, this is like an ancient, like a decade-old, super low-end Celeron, so... You know, don't expect a whole lot out of it. But yeah, for some basic web gaming, is fine. You know what we're getting? Well, that's heavy metal right there. You know what? This is playable. It's running at a pitifully low dynamic resolution, but that's okay. Yeah. Alright. This is fine. Again, it's a really low resolution, but again, that's probably because it's just trying to use dynamic res to get a playable frame rate, even though it's most likely CPU limited? I don't know, but it do be working kind of though, so that's cool. Alright, so what if I wanted to make, do, you know, basic photo stuff. I want to do some production work on my fancy new Chromebox computer. Yeah, those are real spooky. All right. You know, this is ooh, it's taking a second to paste that in, but it is working. So definitely one advantage you'd have using this over like a Raspberry Pi is that this is x86 based, so I can run a lot more software than I would be able to run otherwise. That one is looking kind of spooky, spooky, kind of spooky. That's pretty spooky right there. Let's try this one. All right, ooh, that's real spooky. Ooh, yeah, that's gonna be real pretty. Just yeah, baby. All right, that'll work. That'll work real good, baby. Oh, we have 500 megabytes free, and we're not even. Oh, we're using some of our swap. Oh no. Alright, that's okay. Alright, export this bad boy. Does it have enough time to export? Oh god, it's thinking. It's thinking. It's really thinking. Boy. Oh boy. Alright, so it's kind of slow. I think the Raspberry Pi 5 was significantly more powerful than this thing. But yeah. So that's something. Alrighty then, so the last thing I want to test is can it do gaming? Let's get 1 kill against these potato level bots. Alright, this is actually pretty much playable. Oh my god. There we go. Alright, so... Alright, but if I were actually any good at this, which I used to be okay, this is playable. This is surprisingly playable. So there we go. So you want to play lightweight, classic shooters like Cube 2 Sauerbraten? You can. There we go, I got a kill. I got another kill, yay! If I were online, I'd be being decimated right now, but that's okay. We're getting over 100 FPS. I mean, this is all at the lowest settings, but still, what if I want to bump everything up? We're still getting, it's okay, it's definitely not as playable now. We're getting 60 FPS now, so that's... I mean, most people would want to have hundreds of FPS in this game, but I mean, it's, you know... It's still playable even at the high settings. So, I mean, this is a very old game, but, you know, for the kind of spec this thing is, not terrible. What happens if I max out the bots? Maximum bots. Alright, it's spawning in all the bots. Oh my god. Hey, we're still getting 60 FPS, even with 32 bots enabled, so that, or 31 extra bots. So that's, hey, you know, it's okay. For ancient games like this, it's okay. Just about okay. Yeah, you know, it is technically playable. So yeah. That's the experience of hacking a Chromebox in the year of our Lord, 2024. So, we've successfully hacked it. We've successfully somehow installed a real operating system on it, instead of whatever the Fisher-Price-ass piece of shit it shipped with before. And... yeah. So, it's not exactly usable, but maybe in a future episode I'll do some more in-depth testing on it. Because there's a whole bunch of other stuff I want to try that I didn't have time for this video because I'm running out of time. And I still got to edit this, but yeah, it's slow. You can kind of do stuff like photo editing. Kind of. GIMP is GIMP, so it's a little bit slow, but it's usable enough for like a $50 computer. Again, this is just $50 full stop. And you have the computer, it comes with a decent cooler, I mean, because it's the computer, built-in storage device, all the peripherals you need. The only things you need to get is a mouse and keyboard and a display, but compared to like the Raspberry Pi or the 4 gig models, already probably a little bit more expensive, and you need to get an SD card, you probably need to get a cooler, you need to get a case for it, you'd need all the other stuff. So yeah, this is not a terrible option if you're willing to go through the effort of hacking it like I did. Hopefully, if you've seen this, it's easier for you. I don't know. Alright, that's about it. Bye! Spooky!